Of the next two devotees of Bhagavan, one was a skeptic and the other a scholar and philosopher. Bhagavan turned both these different metals into gold through the alchemy of compassion, love, attention, and illumination. The process of transforming each of them may appear to differ, but the end result was the same: spiritual emancipation. When one reads with utmost attention about these devotees, about how the Master descended to their level and removed their obstacles, thereby inspiring them to attain final emancipation, each one of us also receives the effect of that spiritual emancipation, whether one is conscious of it or not. It is like fire, which will burn your finger if you touch it, whether you are aware or ignorant of the fact. Likewise, if one reads with one-pointed attention, the transformation will take place within oneself, whether one is conscious of it or not. Swami Madhavtirtha was a celebrated saint. From his childhood days, Motilal, Swami Madhavtirtha, used to ponder deeply over the mystery of death. He pestered everyone he met, especially wandering sadhus and sannyasins. Please explain to me, what is this mystery called death? He learned Sanskrit and studied all the scriptural texts he could lay his hands on, his favorite being Srimad Bhagavatam. He was also very well read in modern science and was especially interested in the theory of relativity, as he found many parallels in it to Vedanta and Adi Shankara's exposition of the theory of Maya. He started giving talks in schools and colleges on the theory of relativity and its parallels in Vedanta. A very popular speaker, in the course of his tours he was able to meet sages and saints like Anandamayi Ma. In the 1920s, direct contact with Sri Aurobindo, the well-known seer of Pondicherry, sent him on the true spiritual quest. In 1939, he took sannyas. After this, he was called Swami Madhavtirtha. As a sannyasin, he traveled extensively. He was popular not only for his scholarship, but also for the way he applied what he studied into his personal life. He was a prolific writer and had written over 100 books. Yet his quest for spiritual fulfillment continued unabated. This unquenchable thirst for the truth drew him to Arunachala and Bhagavan in 1944. He stayed for 14 days, each day filled with study and experience. Also, since he was a scholar, he noted down his experiences, his questions to Bhagavan, and the answers. The very first day when Swami Madhavtirtha was introduced to Bhagavan in the dining hall, Bhagavan looked at him with a glance full of grace. About that first look he wrote, "I found in the glance of the Maharshi the sizzling brilliance of the sun. My breath seemed to stop, and my mind was elevated into some spiritual realm of unutterable peace and happiness." Whoever met Bhagavan, with his very first look, he graced them with his own highest state. It was darshan in its truest sense. Whether one was capable of receiving it or not, the Master was always radiating his fullness. Fortunate were those like Swami Madhavtirtha who could receive it. He made every minute of the 14 days of his stay useful for himself and thereby for all of us. Swami Madhavtirtha wrote, "While sitting in the hall, I observed the Maharshi silently resting on the couch, wholly unconcerned with what was taking place in his presence, and yet I could easily discern in him the attitude of oneness with all, abhinabhava, through which he touched the inner being of the seeker, who was thus able to feel within himself the presence of the supreme transcending thoughts, just by a silent look." He added, "I would venture to suggest that the reciprocal relationship with the Maharshi in his abhinabhava and the seeker sitting in his presence is analogous to that of a radio transmitter and a receiver. Maharshi's spiritual influence was transmitted unceasingly, like the sun shining as far as he was concerned, but from the point of view of the seeker, such continued beneficial influence exercised by the sage would have no apparent effect until the seeker himself was prepared to receive it. The seeker's preparedness to receive it is called operation of grace. How often has Bhagavan not assured us, grace is always there, now receive it?
Swami Madhavtirtha had earlier sent his book called Maya to Bhagavan. In it, he had logically presented how Adi Shankara's concept of Maya was fully vindicated by modern science's theory of relativity. When asked for Bhagavan's views on the book, Bhagavan was gracious enough to point out a mistake in the Swami's treatment of the subject and how he had based his arguments on a wrong presumption. The theory of relativity maintains that time and space are purely relative notions dependent entirely on the conditions governing the observer and the object under observation, and that there is no such thing as objective time and space. It proves this by demonstrating how two observers in different points of space perceive the same event differently. The Maharshi pointed out to him that the very presumption of two observers being situated at two given points is in itself an unwarranted assumption and not true. Bhagavan says two observers put in different situations is itself a theoretical notion. In other words, the space between one observer and another being relative and unreal, there cannot be more than one observer. Swami Madhavtirtha at once recognized the error. It was a revelation to him that the Maharshi could judge offhand, as it were, such modern theories based entirely on his own experience of the supreme Advaitic truth. Swami Madhavtirtha put all questions based on his study of Vedanta. If the world is nothing but the divine, why does the Isavasya Upanishad direct the seeker to renounce the world? Bhagavan's answers were naturally based on his own experience. One is commanded to renounce only the wrong knowledge that the world exists as an objective thing other than the divine. One must give up the notion that there is duality and multiplicity, and whatever manifested existence that may appear to be true. Swami Madhavtirtha persisted. If the notion of duality is to be given up, no duality, no multiplicity, what place is there for the scriptural injunction to surrender to the divine? Bhagavan answered, the custom prevalent in some people in South India is to offer puja to the idol of Lord Ganesha before their daily meal.